Well, I've been sitting at home with howling westerlies for about 6 weeks, and there's just a little window in the weather today, so I've come down to my local bit of coast, and I reckon I can sneak out into a campsite before another big cold front comes through. And that's going to come through and dump some rain, so I need to find a nice little sheltered spot. It's very close to high tide, a bit more surf than I'd like for solo paddling, so I'll just have to take my time and sneak out through the waves and get down the coast a bit. But glorious day, but lots and lots of rain forecast. Lots of rain and lots of wind. So I've got to get into shelter. With a bit of luck, I can get out and do some fishing and pick up some dinner. It's time to get on the water. It's a pretty rocky coastline, so the price is constant vigilance. You can get some big bommies, some big deep water breakers just spring up from nowhere if you're not careful. So you've got to be constantly scanning ahead, looking all the time while you're paddling, and just trying to assess the way forward. And even though there's a bit of a swell, there's no risk of really breaking here. I'm just watching ahead. I can see it breaking over, you know, some deep water reef heads further up, but here we're fine. So the water's really murky. It's got a lot of sediment in it, but you never know your luck. You're not going to catch dinner unless you've got a line in. So I've got to paddle across the bay looking for campsite. Might as well have a line in the water. Now it's all about timing, getting in on the back of a wave. It's a real castaway spot. We hope we don't get rescued this afternoon. And a solo trip just gives you time to think and time to be. You know, time to really, especially if you go somewhere and just prop, you know, you really have to get into the place where you are. It gives you time to really look at things in detail. Particularly along the edge of the ocean where, you know, it looks like constant change, constant movement, nothing's ever still. You just examine those rhythms and cycles and spend a lot of time just looking at the water and seeing how it reacts and behaves and all its nuances. And that's important for a sea kayaker. You know, that gaze ahead, just looking at the line that you're paddling and seeing if there's any bommies on it. What are the waves doing? What's the surface doing? Where's the tide and current going? What's the wind doing? How's that going to affect me in the boat? And you can take that mentality with you, you know, onto land when you're stuck in camp for a few days. rain set in down on the coast as forecast, so we're probably expecting about 25 mil. But the winds haven't got up yet, so they might get up a bit later. But we've got a decent tarp up to give us some shelter outside the tent, and it's time to cook some brekkie and see what the day brings. With a bit of luck, it'll rain itself out in the first part of the day, and we can get out and have an explore later. I love breakfast. I've done lots of solo travel over the years, some by design and some because no one else was around to go for a trip at those particular dates, and you either sit home and get frustrated, or you pack your boat or pack your bike or whatever it is and get going. But on your own, you tend to be pretty cautious. You lie awake in the tent and the waves sound 2 times or 3 times as loud as they do as when you're with somebody else. But on your own, everything gets magnified. Maybe that's one of the reasons for solo travel. You haven't got anyone else to rely upon. You've got to be fully engaged with what you're doing. It's absolutely crystal clear that you've got to make really, really good decisions. A fire's good company when you're out on your own. Gives you a bit of work to do, keeps you warm, cooks your lunch. But when you're on your own, you've only got your surroundings, the environment that you're in, and your own mind to keep yourself occupied. So you better have a fair bit of capacity for just poking around and reflecting on life and being interested in where you are. Crocs are probably not the number one rock scrambling footwear. But this whole coastline it's quite volcanic, but also there's lots and lots of limestone, which is what attracted a lot of the early colonists to come in here and dig out that limestone to make lime. And they built these lime kilns to process it all, process the limestone into lime by burning it. And here's one just tucked away in the bush. Look at that sensational brickwork. Imagine you're only way in and out of here's by boat, and these bricks have been brought in, and someone's laid these bricks back in the 1800s. And that's the old fire chamber. And there was actually a timber jetty going way out in this bay. And they'd use horse and cart to take the bagged up lime, once it had been processed out of the kiln, right out to the end of the jetty, and then onto a schooner and sail it around to Melbourne, if they made it. A lot of shipwrecks along this coastline as well. Sunshine. That's the first sunshine for 3 days. Oh, it's just magnificent. I love the routines of the outdoors. Getting up and having a cuppa, cooking breakfast, breaking camp, getting your gear down to the boat and stowing it all in your boat, doing your final check on conditions, weather and tide, and looking out to the sea and looking at the sea state, and then getting going. It's a great routine, a whole series of routines and habits you develop. And it's just part of who you are. Anyway, that sunshine's out. The wind's thinking about dropping, so it's getting close to time to get on the water.
I know a place where we can go and be alone. So come away with me, nobody has to know where we gonna go. I was just
That's 2 sooty oyster catchers up there.
to see if you're free to run away with me, to run away with me. Don't tell your friends, but let them know we're safe later on. Rose calling, sun on our skin, sleeping under stars when it's gone.
That's winter paddling. Wind and swell and gusts and surges and surf.
You're free to run away with me,
Suddenly you're through.
to run away with me, to run away with me.
And winter paddling along a coast like this is, you're definitely going to have some solitude. I think humans are social animals. You know, that's obvious. But that means you're always reacting, somehow always tailoring what you're doing to others around you. And I think there's a time and a place for solitude and solo and going alone as well, just to give you that balance when all you've got is yourself and your own mind and the ability to become absorbed with where you are. That's it.